Hey, got all the cars moved, sun's out, so it's not 37 degrees anymore. This thing loses a lot of heat. Usually end of the year is Thanksgiving, I'll do a smoke, and it'll be, I don't know, 40 degrees out, and it just takes a lot more fuel because it doesn't have any insulation, and it's kind of, well, it's built by me, so it's it uses a lot of gas. Get yourself a chimney. This is great. A little bit of newspaper in the bottom, and this will run itself up. And all of these coals will be cherry red in, I don't know, 20-30 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and fill this up with charcoal. I'll get my fan mounted and the controller and whatnot. We'll go over that. I checked all the thermocouples this morning. Things are looking okay. I think it's going to be a good smoke. We'll have to clear out a spot on the table to trim the brisket up, but I'm not sure you guys need to see that. Okay, so the old setup with the meter was use these standoffs on the bottom. We had mounted it in this box, and then it pinched onto the top of that tube I've got going into the thing using the fan glued onto that. And the glue would come undone and didn't work out well. Well, I had this tube, so we repurposed it this winter for the wife's Christmas party costume. She wanted a snow globe. And I used the fan to inflate it, and it would like poof. You can still see a couple of those little styrofoam balls or the snow, and all they really did is get all over her car and all over the bar. I'm surprised they didn't kick her out, but I think if I aluminum tape that onto that tube, it's going to keep the fan on nice for today's smoke, and then we'll figure out a better mounting solution when we rig up this bigger fan. So yeah, I think we'll just tape this on. It's not going to rain today, so we'll just figure out a way to set the controller up without it getting tipped over in the wind. Yeah, here's the temporary setup. A couple of clamps. I was going to use hard drive magnets, and then remembered that when magnets get hot, they stop being magnets, so I didn't want to risk it. And decided to put this back in the case, just so if it does fall off or something crazy, it'll be a little bit protected. If it starts to rain, I can put the lid down. I left it out in the rain with the lid up once and soaked it in rice, and it survived. So, but I don't want to push my luck. And coals are looking good, so these can go in. I always use that plate so I don't melt holes in my driveway. It'll take a little while for it to really get rolling, but we'll get it plugged in and get the fan going. It'll stoke that thing right up, and in the meantime we can cut the brisket up and get it ready. Okay, got the probe in place. See, the way this works is it uses the probe, it'll shoot air out that little hole right there as needed depending on temperature. The smoke goes up through that hole on the left. Kind of hard to see, I mean you can see it out here, it's all dirty and gross, but goes up through there, goes underneath all these bricks, and has to come out on this side and pass back over the top. So you get pretty good radiant heat off of the bricks. It keeps things pretty even. I like to put the probe on the right and then use this as well to kind of keep an eye on things. But it works out. Yeah, it won't take long to heat up. There we go. It's the on switch. Now she's on. It's chugging right along. I don't know if you can see that very well or not. It's hard for me to tell. But that's what you want. It's like a little blue smoke like that coming out slow, like a cabin in the woods, as they say. If it's coming out billowing white, you're going to get creosote all over your stuff. And then this is the interface for that heat controller. So it has your probe temp, and then you can name these. I'll name them when I do different meats in the configuration. And then I generally don't plug the actual meat probes in until like the 4 or 6 hour mark, because I don't like jamming whatever could be on the surface into the meat. Okay, out of the package, I'll go over things a little bit. One, butcher paper is awesome, especially if you use it, do crutch like I do. You can get a 1,000-foot roll at GFS for pretty cheap, and I use it for more than just doing meat stuff. Like sometimes I'll lay it out on the bench if I want to keep an area clean, you know, keep parts clean, keep them off the wood, that kind of thing. But as far as prepping this stuff, we'll get off all this junk that we don't need, get off any of the silver skin that we can find. Now on this side, you want to get underneath this little section here. There's going to be a big, essentially like triangle of fat along that. We'll shave this down, make sure it's only about a 1/4 inch thick, get all any of the nasties off, and then you want to kind of make it aerodynamic. This one already looks pretty good because it's small. I think it was only like 9 pounds. Okay, so I'm starting to pull this junk off. Taking the windshield out was great, but now I know why people put this sticky whatever. It just doesn't fucking come off. So we got these stripped down to just the gooey bits that the wire wheel won't take care of. And we're gonna try peanut butter and mayonnaise, since that seems to be an internet favorite, and I bet they both suck and don't work, but we'll give it a shot because we got the time. Okay, there it is. Peanut butter on the left, mayonnaise on the right. Oh, my alarm's going off. I think that means, yeah, it's 11:30. It's time to check on the burgers. Ooh, they look like hamburgers. Okay, so the pit temperature's coming back up from the lid being open. You can see this blue line's fan output, this blue background's fan output, so you can kind of see when it drops down, it comes up. If you see this up here a lot, it usually means I need to add a little more fuel. But those thinner burgers are sitting at 137, and that thicker one's only 118. So what I'll probably do is fire the grill up, have those 2 for lunch, and then in an hour or so, I don't know how long it'll really take, but that thicker patty will be ready for afternoon second lunch. Oh, parts washer was leaking. I decided to look into it, thought I'll put a new O-ring on the bung and some thread sealant, and it still leaks because it's coming out of that seam. You can dry it off, and then it just comes right back in there and dribbles out. So we're gonna have to empty this thing, make sure kerosine's relatively safe. It won't catch us on fire, but we'll flip it upside down out in the driveway and run a bead all the way around that, make sure it's sealed back up. I think that ought to seal up. I mean, I went all the way around. I'd imagine that they tack it in place and then braze it or something, but by the time I wire wheel off some of the other rusty spots in these bottom brackets that I made to paint them, that should be cool enough to paint as well. And at least keep it a little nicer. It doesn't, not like it lives outside in the rain or anything, but you know, if I leave it bare in a couple of years, it'll be rusty and gross, just like the car. Okay, so it's been, I don't know, probably about an hour. I'm gonna scrape this stuff off and give it a wipe and just see how things came out compared to how we start. Hoping it just makes everything easy. It feels like it didn't do shit. It's still rough underneath. Oh, it's hard to tell. I think I just got mayonnaise all over my car for no reason. Well, for science, right? Try the peanut butter side. Oh, yeah, didn't do anything either. If anything, the mayonnaise just made it slippery so the knife doesn't feel awful. This stupid people on the internet. Oh. Yeah, I think it just makes it slick enough that your towel doesn't stick. I can kind of scrape at it with my fingernail. It's still goobery. Kind of balls up a little bit. I think there's probably just something that just works better. Some kind of chemical instead of wasting all your food. Oh, but speaking of chemicals, I did try most of the stuff on this shelf. I didn't try the mineral spirits. I guess I could do that. I tried the degreaser, so WD-40, which people swear by. This stuff's just nasty. So I'll have to figure out if I have anything a little more caustic. I know I have some gel paint remover, but I'm not sure I want to get the sticky stuff off by removing the paint that's underneath it, even though this is going to get sprayed down. If I do have to go that route, it'll be right before we paint it. So I got a nice wipe out of it using the MAP gas, and it actually catches on fire, and I don't want to burn the car down. And then as soon as it starts to cool off, it's just this tacky, fucking gross mess again. So I don't know. I'm torn about what to do with this stuff. Okay, so this is about as good as it gets. I tried my heat gun and it just wasn't hot enough. I'm finding if you boil this stuff till it starts to turn a little brown, like a a sticky creme brulee, then it wipes right off. The only problem is all this other fuzz will catch on fire. So we'll do a quick example, and then if I use this method, I'll have to strip everything that could burn the house down out of the car before I actually go for it. Look at that. Like, that's how we're going to have to remove all of it. Get it hot, wipe it right off. We'll just have to be really, really careful. Scraped off the urethane, got this big boy out. Amazing wheel, it's worth the money. You just get so much more out of it than putting one on the end of the drill. And it looks like, you know, this has got a hole, goes all the way through to that other side. So we have to cut out a little piece and tack it in. Framing. You have to take out a little piece and tack it in. And then I also found there's a new guy right over here. Never would have even seen it until it reared its ugly head. And I think once we get the wheel on that, we won't have to weld anything in. It'll be good enough to just stop it in its tracks. And item number 2, that thicker burger's hitting 153. So I think I'm gonna pull that thing off soon and give it an eat. Okay, here's that thicker burger patty. Took it off at about 155 degrees. Get a little thermocouple hole. Oh my god, like, look at that. Oh, it just looks so fucking good. And that pink on the outside is a smoke ring. So you can see it's cooked all the way through. It's got a nice smoke ring to it. Probably just tastes amazing. Oh my god. Yeah, I think given enough warning, this is just the way to make burgers. I don't want to do it any other way anymore. So meat's in the oven, the controller's just hanging out. What I'll actually do is bring this inside, stick the probes back in so that I can monitor temperatures. Okay, so next day, it's 6:20 in the morning. I just pulled it out of the oven, and it's got plenty of juices left in it where the temperature probes were. Okay, cut her open, and pretty good. Got a really well-defined smoke ring. The point, even though it's small, you can see is super tender, super tasty. The flat, not as tender as normal. I think it just took too long. Not necessarily over temperature, but just one of those where I trusted the thermometer more than my instinct and let it go. Now, that being said, it tastes amazing. It just doesn't fall apart on the fork the way I'd prefer it to. So the bark actually came out really good. I think using a real thick layer of salt and pepper helped with that, even though it was finished in the oven. So that's all wrapped up, and then if I do any more car work, maybe I'll put out a small update, but there's nothing real special going on there.